Time's up. The embargo on spoilers is lifted. It is now time to talk about the 7.0 story. That and more on this episode of the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic from newoverlords.com. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 417. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hey, Max. That's going really well. Yeah, I am caught up on two of my characters now. So, like, we were talking about this in pre-show, but before Legacy of the Sith dropped, I only had one character that was ready to start the 7.0 story. And I didn't really understand how far back the skip was going to leave me. So on the pub side, I did the skip and I started in Ossus. So this week I've been playing through Ossus and Andron and Mech Shaw and doing all the instances, including the Spirit of Vengeance and the CTL Shan Mindscape thing and the Secrets of the Enclave. And so it's been kind of interesting to do all of that story in a stream instead of like
right
in bits and pieces as we got it the first time through in time. So so that was pretty fun. I thought it was interesting that I found Spirit of Vengeance to be very challenging. Not the boss fights, but like the trash pulls, because there were so many trash pulls in there that would be like 3 or 4 strongs and maybe a couple of weeks. And even the weeks, I was having to, throw my whole rotation into a week to kill it. And then each strong would be like that times 3. So it was a whole thing to get through Spirit of Vengeance. The bosses, though, I didn't run into any trouble with the bosses, but that took a while, and so did the CTL Shan thing. Then when I got to Secrets of the Enclave, it was way more tuned to being able to just like kind of go through, kill everything, and blah, 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 blah. It still took a while to kill a strong, but like a pull would have a strong in a week or a strong in 2 weeks, as opposed to 4 strongs in 2 weeks.
Right.
Anyway, so I spent a lot of time working my way through the story this week on the pub side. My Merc I had done obviously right away when it dropped. So that's how I've been spending my time this week. How about you, Max?
I have been doing some similar things, and I found the same thing when I first started doing the catch-up on a couple of characters prior to and even after 7.0 launch, especially after, I think it was mostly after 7.0 launch, I had been using the XP gear set. I think we just learned that the XP gear set is not working at level 76 and above, even though we thought it was, and we thought we tested it on the PTS. Anyway, I was using that gear set, and I was basically, I had like level 20 mods in it, and it took forever to get through like Spirit of Vengeance and some of that content. I don't know why I didn't just go put 306 mods, because I had a billion of them still sitting around, and by the time I finished it on my Merc and needed to do some of the catch up on like another alt, I did go get 306 mods and put them in that.
I had put 306 mods in mine too.
Right. So
it stops at 76.
And I was also, I think at one point I was using a non-50 influence companion. So yes, full 306 with a 50 influence companion. Still not trivial, but it's definitely much more reasonable to go through it.
The upside of it stopping at 76 is now, as I'm leveling my characters, which I am, I forgot to mention, I've also been leveling sort of one character every day to 76.
Sure.
And now, once they all get to 76, I can stop swapping gear.
Right.
Because the XP gear won't matter. But I've been doing that because my sort of plan there is, as they level to 76 and they're making conquest, I get them to 76 first, and then they get the 200 tokens, and then they can get,
right.
But tokens, who needs them now?
We're capped. Everybody's capped. We're all capped here. How are you?
Yep. My smart plan has just made me get capped faster, so I probably won't be doing that anymore.
That's been the main thing I've been doing this past week, is I was still continuing to work on upgrading gear, and the main bottleneck for me has been aquatic resource matrix, and some Thyrisian, because if you look at my gear here, I have about half PvP and half Noble Decurion. So between those, the two currencies that I'm capped, or that I'm starved for, although I was doing stuff today, so I have a little bit of balance here. I'm going to upgrade some things, but aquatic resource matrix and Thyrisian production accelerants, which are the PvP currency. Those are the ones I'm starved for. Metals of commendation, I'm swimming in them, and I know you are too. We were going to have to find some use for metals of commendation, because now I'm just buying random sets. I bought like a tech medic set on my mercenary, which I'm sure I'll never use, and just stuck it in the bank. And I bought a 320 set for my Sork, which it needs anyway. I'll probably upgrade some of those pieces. But I was taking just this bolt blaster set and just moving it over to my Sork and playing with the bolt blaster set, which it was perfectly fine. But okay, so I'll get all the sets. I'll get all 8 sets, and I'll have them all on a page in my legacy bank, because I've got nothing else to spend these metals of commendation on. So there's that. So that has been interesting. I've been doing all of the things for Galactic Seasons as well. So that has been compelling. And by compelling, I mean it's compelled me to play things that I haven't played in a while and have fun doing it. I have not yet this week done the Eternal Championship, which I heard is hard in 320 gear. Now I'm a little bit above 320 at this point, and I'm missing. I pulled my relics out. I'll probably be. I've got like 326 weapons now, so we'll see how it feels. But I think Medulla said that he ran through it in full 320 and died a couple times on the last fight, and it's not trivial. So may need to get a group together to do that. But again, it's something that I haven't done in a while, and that's what Galactic Seasons is designed to do. And I'm doing all of the things. I'm completing all of Galactic Seasons. I'm doing all of the daily, which is just get 25,000 conquest points, and all of the weeklies, and having fun doing it. So that's been great.
Machete's reminding us that you can buy your conquest gear and deconstruct it then for tech frags.
That is true. And a chance at the other currencies as well. I think you have a chance of getting Aquatic Resource Matrix off of some of those. Interesting. Maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, speaking of Galactic Seasons, just by doing MFN and then continuing to finish the story on my Shadow, I have completed, without thinking about it or even trying, 4 of the 7 weeklies that you can do.
Right. Which is also positive, and more evidence that
awesome.
These are some of the things that you would just be doing anyway end up counting, which is great. And then you might need to stretch in an extra direction. And it's not the same things from week to week in regular conquest or in season objectives. And it's not the same featured flashpoints, and it's not the same featured operations, which does really shake it up, which is interesting.
I haven't made a spreadsheet yet, and someone can, that's already figured it out can tell me, but I just assume that if I get 4 weeklies every week and like most every day do the daily, that will complete the season.
I believe so. I think I saw a tweet from someone that said, at most you can do like half at most or something like that, and you'll be perfectly fine.
Well, yeah, because I think, I'm at level 25, so that's a quarter of the way, and we're 2 weeks in, so no problem.
We go. All right, let's check on the news.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
First up, we'll lead with the less interesting news item, but still interesting. We did get an update on the in-game events calendar for March. We got Bounty Contract, which is next week. So starting on Tuesday will be Bounty Contract week. It's a fun thing. I wonder if we'll have any conquest objectives associated with it. That would be interesting to know. And then the Swoop Rally will be coming on March 22nd. So that is good to keep an eye on as well. And then they still have the call out for the 10-year anniversary, all of the things that are on the vendors. Remember, those vendors were updated when 7.0 dropped, and more things will be coming later in the year. So keep an eye on those 10th anniversary vendors. That's a good thing.
And maybe there'll be some Galactic Season thing for Bounty Hunt, because they they are having some slightly weird things, like that one weekly that was to kill NPCs without your companion.
Right. Which we got done on Tuesday, and killing the champion guards, opposite faction champion guards on various
Yeah.
planets, which was always a fun
Yeah.
one to do as a group that we haven't had it as an objective for a while. But it
Yeah,
would be
we're happy to get that one back.
I would love to see a bounty contract objective there. I don't know if we will, but I would love to,
Yeah,
because I've had no reason to go and do that.
Yeah, I don't know if we will either, because I can't even think of what a group-oriented bounty contract thing would be, but,
Right. Eternal Championship's in there, though, and that's not group necessarily.
That's true.
So we'll see.
Also in the news, the PTS is open. I have not been there yet, but there's basically two things going on that they want players to look at. One is the first 3 bosses of the R4 operation, which is coming in a subsequent patch, 1. But there are also a ton of bug fixes to stuff that people have been pointing out, and they want people to take a look at that too. Specifically, they made some changes to the UI to reduce some of the contrast, and also to make it easier to see what you've selected.
Absolutely.
So we're probably going to check it out. Our raid leader said tonight we may even do it as part of our ops night next week. I mean, we don't know for sure, because
and
we don't plan that far in advance. But
right. we won't.
But that would
we
be
won't
fun.
decide until 5 minutes before. All of the characters have been
fun.
wiped, so you do need to copy new characters over. But then you can just get on there, bring a character over, and go get full 330 gear with 286 augments for, let's say, for testing veteran mode.
Yeah.
But we could go and use that for testing story mode as well, R4, and just poking our heads in there and trying the first 3 bosses. That would be very interesting, and maybe we'll talk about it on the podcast next week then, if we can get in there and get it done. Guild and community news. What do we got with our ops teams, Seema?
So, Taco, which is our ops team that meets on Sunday nights at 8:30 Eastern, they may still need a DPS or 2. So if you're looking for a regular group to do operations with, that would be a good place to start. You can just come into our Discord and say, hey, I'm interested in Taco, TACO, which stands for something. Or you can ask for Albus.
Yes. Albus or Bolto, I believe. Probably Albus.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to the chat room. Thank you for helping out, giving us information, verifying what's going on with the game, and giving us all of the news items and reminding us to read the codex entries. Thank you, Zen, for that. I really appreciate everyone being in there, and we will catch up with you after the show. But now we've got a whole bunch of story to spoilers, so this is going to be spoilery stuff. Just letting everyone know, you should have played through the story by this point. We will be talking about both the Republic. We'll go through the Republic side first, and then we'll talk about the Imperial side, and we will also talk about the ruins of Null and what's on Elam, because it is time to burn.
Power will be yours if you are willing to burn.
Burn. If you are willing to burn. Are you willing to burn, Seema? I am willing to burn.
Not so much.
Well, what about like burning some pleasant incense? Burning some nice burning man.
Applying. Yeah. I mean,
a patchouli
like
oil candle.
No. A fireplace, that would be nice.
Story. We started with the trailer. The story derives and includes what happened in the trailer. I wanted to start this discussion with reminding everyone of the trailer. In fact, I think that the trailer even starts here right after the crawl as you play through. Was it right? Was it before this, or did I cut it out? I might have cut it out. But remember, we saw, and we went through the trailer in detail. In the trailer, we saw Malgus and Sahar and her Jedi Master coming together in the ancient Sith temple ruins on the planet of Elam. That was Darth Null's facility, and there was a giant machine, and there was a conflict over that machine. So we met we met Sahara. We saw some of the flashbacks. We got some of her story. She does show up at the very end, just in a cutscene. She doesn't speak, but she doesn't have a speaking part. But she does show up at the very end, one of the final cutscenes after the Elam flashpoint. So this will continue on. She will be part of the story going forward, but it starts there. That's important to remember. We'll talk about Manon and what happens on the Republic side and the Imperial side, which is sort of like a second track, not completely unrelated. There's still stuff going on in conflict across the galaxy. But what happens at Elam, and when we get to that actually ends, the Elam flashpoint starts, I would say that the trailer is going on while you are progressing through the Elam flashpoint, and we'll show you why when we get to that. But let's talk about the story on Manon. For both the Republic and the Imperial side, when you start that story, you get the opening crawl. The opening crawl is slightly different on each side. Basically, it explains that, and we're going to do the Republic side first because it kind of does happen first. But it explains that the Empire decided that it's a good idea to go and get more Kolto. In fact, we would like even more Kolto than we've been able to get from those stingy Selkath. And in order to do that, we're going to establish our own Kolto mining operations, and Selkath be damned. And if they want to fight about it, we'd be happy to do that. In fact, as we go through the Imperial story, we'll hear that there was even potentially a plan to go further and maybe even, conquer the planet and beat up the Selkath. Yes, Zen, it is on Elam, and we'll show that. Well, I mean, I'm making that connection, and I'll show you the point at which I'm saying that the trailer ends inside the Elam flashpoint. Sorry, I was talking to the chat room there. Opening crawl. At the end of the opening crawl, we get to see a little bit of what's going on above the planet of Manon. It turns out that Arn was hanging out at Manon and was headed there for other reasons, not for what we expected. We hear that Arn sends out a distress call, and we show up with a larger Republic fleet after Arn sends out his distress call because he gets knocked out by what is obviously some sort of ion blast because it disables his ship. We see Arn get kind of blown up there, and then we fly in with the rest of the Republic fleet and a new general. What's his name? Admiral Rava. So this was the kickoff. Arn is sort of the main character on the Republic side. You played through it. We both played through it. I made comments on the side about Arn being whiny and, why don't we just leave him behind? Mostly joking, but you called me out on it. So why don't you lead this discussion of Arn, Seema? Are you happy to see Arn? Is it cool that Arn's back? What do you think of Arn these days?
I'm happy with Arn. He does second guess himself, but then so does Tao. I mean, that's kind of why they are good for each other, and I think that's why Master Dural put them together. But anyway, he also has never. He's always questioned whether he could actually be a true Jedi because he's so much cyber.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at him, he's really like both of his legs, and I mean, he's
cybernetic, which is often something we see with Sith Lords.
Yeah.
So there shouldn't be a concern about ability to use the Force. That's been demonstrated, but
I think it's his personality too.
I think it's his personality.
Yeah. Um, and I don't know. His point of view is traditional heroic, right? Like save people,
Yes.
which I like. I've always liked that. I know there's a lot
Yeah.
of people who think that's too goody two shoes and prefer to like enslave people than to save them, but that's not me. I like saving people.
And I don't mind that, and I don't mind Arn. I don't actually dislike Arn. I still think he is a little bit too whiny. He's definitely less whiny as a Jedi than he was as a Padawan. Please.
I think that's a fair assessment. And there is a grand tradition of whining in Star Wars.
There sure is. I mean, Luke Skywalker spent his entire character arc from beginning to end whining. So, so that I want
Yeah.
to go to Dodge Station.
Right.
I think it's
and
time for the Jedi to end. Oh,
and
Luke.
before Arn, we really have given Nadia a hard time for that too.
Yes, we sure
I mean,
have.
I'm not sure if that's exactly the same thing, whining, what she does, but yeah. So it's fair.
Thanks for trusting me.
Shut up, Nadia.
Shut up, Max.
Boy, I pulled that
Nadia.
out. I'm glad
Yeah,
I found that. That's
Nadia.
deep in the menus.
Nadia's not taking that from you.
Admiral Rava, he seems pretty cool. Doesn't have that big a part. He's just sort of the fleet admiral. He does come up later in the story, he gets referred to, and then he also chimes back in, and we talked to him a couple times. I
thought they were gonna kind of set him up to be sort of a bad guy, like not a bad guy, but like after his goal and screw the cell calf.
Yeah, he definitely has a adversarial relationship with Jerry Gallo. So we'll have to talk about that when that comes up. The Selkath woman down on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that. We don't know that back history, and they haven't told it to us. So there's definitely a little bit of friction there. But he seems, other than that, he seems pretty straightforward so far. So we'll see. One little side bit I liked in this cutscene when they kick off, when you get there you start flying through the debris field looking for Arn's ship. There's a couple Imperial fighters that were sort of like hiding in the debris waiting for you, and they come after you. And it looks totally like the old On Rails space mission. And they follow you, you fight them, you shoot them, or you do a thing. But it looks like they should just make a space mission out of it, because it looks like a space mission. And it was
a really cool touch the way they were hiding back there. And when I saw them, the engines fire up, I'm like, ooh,
yeah, here they come.
Right.
So we then fly through, we find Arn, we get to him, we get on his ship. In fact, one of the first things you need to do then when you do the playthrough is you dock on Arn's ship. It's all busted up, and you need to fight your way through, find out what's going on, blast your way through one of the bulkheads, and Arn is there protecting some of his crew. So we get to see him using a force shield and bubbling a couple people. And this is where we get to hear the intro of what's going on. He was visiting Manon for other reasons, and we do learn that later. He was tracking down some old lore of what was going on, came across and basically ended up stumbling on this Imperial operation. The Empire has a big ion cannon. Ion cannons are sort of that big electric charge, EMP pulse kind of blast that disables ships. His ship ends up getting disabled as part of it. Then the Empire is blasting ships out of the sky after they get disabled by this giant ion cannon. He tells you and Rava, this is bad news. You get the fleet up on out of here, man, because you're going to get wiped out. And one thing leads to another. You can expect what we need to do is we need to get down to Manon and disable the ion cannon.
Only a small party can do it.
As that MacGuffin, which happens over and over and over again, which I don't mind.
I don't either.
And when we get to Elam, another one of the key things happens as well. When we get to Elam, there's a shield. There's a shield. So we can't just fly right to the temple. We got to land outside the shield, and we got to walk in. just like we did in explosive conflict, just like we did. There's always a shield that's got to be taken down by a small, scrappy group. We did that back on the forest moon of Endor, in fact.
Yep.
So that's fine. We team up with Arn. So it's Arn and your character. We go down to the onto Manon, onto the planet, and need to get down there and try to see what we can do to take out this ion cannon. While we're down there, we kill a bunch of Imperials, just murder a bunch of people, and because they're trying to kill us, I think that's fine. What did you think? Just we don't have to go through the mechanics of the fighting too much, but trash-wise, I thought it was reasonable. Not a lot of story to be told outside the cutscenes as you're running through doing stuff. But
So
you get
I
a
did
good
do
view
it.
of Manon.
I did do it on my shadow, and so
Ooh.
a lot of this I did try to stealth through, and there's quite a few that you can stealth around and stealth by, but then there's also a number of them that are the ones that run in or that spawn for you.
Yeah.
You can't stealth from them.
And there are plenty of objectives where you need to go, flip
Yes.
flip the 4 switches, and
Right.
you can't flip those 4 switches without
I
fighting.
found a couple where I could CC the guy
Oh.
closest and switch it. And then
Good.
also some of those ones that spawn and put you in combat automatically, you can still outrun and then force cloak and drop. But I mean, that's not going to work in every case, and also that has a cooldown. So anyway,
I did make a note. Here was point number 1 where Arn's getting pretty whiny, and we have to give him a little pep talk on how to be a Jedi as we're flying down to the
that
surface
makes more
of-
sense because I was on my shadow and she's pretty badass Jedi.
So was she just like, shut up, Arn?
she'd tell him like it is. Like, you're on your Vanguard?
I'm on my Vanguard, and I still had to tell him how to be a
Right.
Jedi.
Right.
So we're down on Manon then. We fight our way through. Fight. In fact, we fight for quite a while here. I think I got to go until we get to meet up with is she a general? Colonel Gallo. So we get down here and we get to go meet up with a new character named Colonel Gallo, and she is a Selkath. So when we fight our way in past all of the outdoor area of Manon, we get to meet Colonel Gallo, Jerry Gallo. Jerry Gallo is a reference from my cousin Vinny. If anyone gets that, congratulations. But I'm going to call her Jerry. So Jerry Gallo is an interesting character. What do you think of Jerry?
Oh, I liked her a lot.
Sure.
I thought she was great. Yeah.
She's sassy. She's let's hear her voice.
Arn Peralin, Jedi Knight.
And she's not
soft.
The laser sword gave it away. Now, what in the great seas are you doing in the middle of this mess?
What in the great seas are you doing in the middle of this mess? Yeah.
And she's like happy to save us right here, but she's also not going to take any guff from us.
Right. And she's not happy. She's upset, and they're fighting the Empire, but they're not happy with the Republic either. And they don't buy into the Republic coming down here being all altruistic and just here, oh, we're just here to help. Don't care about all that Colto you got sitting around there, but if you had any just spare, wouldn't mind filling up our ships on the way out. So they're pretty suspect of the Republic side's objectives and have been for quite a while. They're certainly upset with the Empire because they're going much further and actually setting up their own operations and fighting against the Selkath. So she reluctantly teams up with us as an alliance of convenience to fight the Empire. But especially when we first meet Jerry, she's not all that friendly with us. does warm up
Right.
to us throughout the course of the entire operation as we fight with her, and she saves us and we save her, and some fun things happen, and then is pretty complimentary by the end, with
I
us
mean,
at
and
least.
her point, which is a good one or meaningful one to me anyway, she's like, they show up and then you show up and we pay, basically.
Right.
So it's like, yes, your fleet's here now, but it's because they came. It's because the Empire's here.
Right. How convenient.
Right.
She tells us that the key thing we need to do to knock out this weaponry and the ion cannon is we're basically going to turn it into an ion bomb, and we're gonna take out the ion cannon, and we're going to use it as an EMP pulse to take down their shuttles that are going to be flying away as well. I thought it was a little interesting. There was a side comment in here where Arn says, they sort of made it like we glanced once we start talking about an EMP knocking out electronics. They have your character sort of glance over at Arn, and Arn says, "Zaid, don't worry about me. My implants are hardened, and they
They're
won't
shielded.
shielded."
Yeah.
I had to roll my eyes a little bit about that because that's another plot convenience as well. Well, why didn't they shield everything else? Why isn't everything shielded? If you could shield electronics, why wouldn't everybody shield everything? But apparently they don't. The only thing that's shielded is Arn. Okay.
And there's clearly a couple of ships that are too, because there's a couple of ships that take off even after they.
Yeah, don't worry. My prosthetics are shielded. That's interesting. I didn't catch exactly when which parts happen where, but I think a couple of them got caught in the blast, but I think one of them was far enough away or something like that. I think we see it in the cutscene. Anyway, fine. That gives us an objective of a thing that we need to go do. We need to go figure out how to blow up these or overload. I think we have to overload some generators and get things set up so that we can blow the gun.
I mean, one thing that's great about Gallo is just, or all of these cell casts, is just how they look. They just look fantastic.
It is, and you're right. All of the character models, especially in the cutscenes, all of the new characters, including Arn and Tau, but especially Sahar and everyone in the new cutscenes. The textures are definitely a generation beyond your character and all of the old textures and characters in the game, which is really, especially when they do the close-ups, you can sort of see a lot more texture on the faces and pores and all of that. I think that they look really good. At this point, also, when we say that we need to go overload these generators and we need to do our little thing, Arn says, fine, I will go back to guard the shuttle just to make sure we have an escape. That is another little bit of a plot convenience, but perfectly fine, because then that gives us the opportunity for you or your character to team up with Jerry and go off and do this thing you need to do.
I mean, he's going to shield the shuttle.
He's going to shield the shuttle to make sure it's still working. Is that what he said he's going to do?
Yeah,
Is he going to shield it with his
anyway.
stuff?
Yeah, he's not going to just go back and guard it, but he's going to make sure the shields do something. I don't know.
Something magical.
Maybe the whole thing with the shielding is if it's a surprise, you can get them or whatever.
Well, if you shut a device down completely and take it offline when an EMP goes out, then you can bring it back up after.
Yeah.
That is the way EMPs work in real life. As long as, you could still have feedback if you could have power line surge effects if it's still not grounded, or depending on how we don't need to get into the physics of EMPs, but mostly if it's offline, you could be okay. So Jerry comes with us. This also gives us the opportunity to see a little bit of Jerry talking about some things, get a little bit of the dialogue between you and Jerry, get her. I think I say here, at 13 minutes in, Jerry busts our chops about the Republic being problematic, which she does. Basically, she's saying, you guys are always, you and Laser Sword here. What did she say? She calls Arn Laser Sword. You and Laser Sword back there are here to deal with the cannon, huh? The Republic fleet on a what? Mission of mercy? So she's basically busting our chops on
Yeah.
the objectives and goals of the Republic. And it's fun to have a little bit of that background. And this is also where we learn that she's got some sort of history with Rava. And because Rava calls down, and we make a comment like, boy, I don't know what your history is with Rava, but we've got a job to do. And she's right. She basically says, oh, you're right. You're right. You don't know my history with Rava, so shut up. So here she is talking to Rava. So I thought that was good, but she doesn't explain it, and I think that's fine too. So she doesn't explain what her history is with Rava, and they just sort of leave it there. That's fine. But they did know each other. There is a little bit of history there, and I think that's kind of cool. A little more fighting, and then this again, we're playing through this on the Republic side, and this Republic part comes before the Imperial playthrough on Manon. We're on the Republic part here, and we meet up with a guy named Major Dosk. This is not the main character from the Imperial side. I thought it was.
I thought it was going to be too.
But it's not. It's
different
another
guy.
one in the employ of employ of the Empire.
Board. Yeah.
Not one that you meet on the Imperial side. But his name is Major Dosk, and he's got one of those tiny little mustaches, and he's kind of a bad guy because he says a couple mean things, which is fine. This part was fine to me. It was a typical confrontation with an Imperial, and then we'd have to do a little bit of fighting around it. I think that was okay. I didn't think Major Dosk was all that interesting. Did you have any dissenting view on this part?
He was pretty conventional.
Yeah.
Empire military guy.
We do. So he's behind a pane of glass here. He basically says, well, if you can't have it, nobody can. He sets things on some sort of self-destruct there after so we got to kill this robot boss. We go and kill this robot boss. And this is where he sets the console to self-destruct, and Jerry pushes us out of the way and takes the blast, basically takes one for us. So this is sort of that first point. She saves us, we save her later, and creates a little bit of a bond between us.
I think it's funny that when you run into these sort of random Imperial officers, they always think their 4 guys can just take us out.
Right.
Like, don't they have newsletters and stuff to tell each other?
Right.
Yeah. These 4 guys are not going to take us out.
They're always so confident about it too. And he just saw us do this, and we meet up with him like 10 minutes later, and he tries the same move and is like super sure that he's going to succeed. So Jerry takes one for us. We have to fight our way through to get out of here. We do get to do the part of the story. There's not much narrative, but we do get to do the underwater part. It's slightly different between the Republic and the Imperial, but we need to go do our underwater things. You basically take over a remote droid and pilot it around underwater, which is kind of cool.
It was cool, actually. This is what we've been talking about before. Is like if we're going to have to do a vehicle, then don't make it harder than just walking around.
Right.
And this was cool. You sped along the water, on the ground beneath the water.
Yeah.
And found things. Like, it wasn't even a combat thing, so that was cool.
You had a couple abilities. There's some things you needed to do. If you wanted to do the bonus mission on the Republic side, you sucked up Kolto out of these pools and spread it around on the wildlife that was getting damaged. These little gyre drifters, and blasted them with a little bit of Kolto, so they all got happy and needed to go pick up your whatever MacGuffin that you needed. Battery backups. You were getting batteries off the floor here, so you could power something up. Yeah, I liked it. I liked it too. I thought it worked pretty well. When I did my playthrough, I did every single bonus side mission and looked around and spent a whole bunch of time. So it took me a little bit longer. But I did that so that I could enjoy the artwork and what they did. We do that. We do the underwater part. We fight our way back a little bit. We get back to the control room. Oh, so we do what we need to do down on the ground. We set off the part that we needed to set off to knock out the ion cannon. We take the ion cannon offline. Jerry yells at us to go ahead and do that. We start taking out a couple of the ships. The Empire did send a couple ships away that did make it off the planet. That we're stealing some of the Kolto that they shouldn't have had. A couple of them get taken down by the Selkath, and one of them makes it out somehow. And it turns out that the one that makes it out, Jerry and her team got on that hauler, somewhat freighter or whatever they're calling it, and we need to go. This is a little bit of an interesting part. We need to go save Jerry as sort of the final wrap up of what we're doing down here. The ship is already taking off. Yeah, go ahead.
One shipload of Kolto apparently is a lot of Kolto.
And it's a big deal. And everybody's all up in arms about this Kolto. In fact, you get a choice of what to do with it in just a bit as well, which I thought was interesting. No, that's on the Imperial side. You get a choice of to either send it back to Odessan or send it to the Dromakos on the Imperial side. But you don't get that on the Republic side because it's an Imperial shuttle. The ship is taking off right here. Arn and you are sprinting after it. It's already it's already off the ground. And we basically got a Lord of the Rings, you're gonna have to toss me moment where Arn force tosses you up into the air onto the ship. So I was kind of amused by that.
I mean, when I play through, we just both jumped.
Oh, because you were a Force user.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I'm not a Force user, so he picked me up and threw me. I'm not a Force user, Arn. You're going to have to toss me. Don't tell the elf. Don't tell Lana. So I was amused by that. You don't say that. You don't say you're going to have to toss me, but they should have, because I was amused by that, and that's what played in my head. Anyway,
don't look too happy about it.
What?
You don't look too happy about it when he does it.
No, you're sort of like like you're sort of floppy in the air too. It's kind of amusing. So then we're up on that ship. We need to. Dosk is up there. He's up there on the ship. He says, great job. You're too late. I sent some of my men in to go and engage Gallo and her team, and then I vented the oxygen. I vented the room, so now they're all knocked out. Ha ha. And me and these 3 droids are now going to take you on.
Gonna do you in. I like this part. It reminded me of all the movies where the hero goes across the top of a train.
Mm-hmm. Right. We basically did our moving vehicle chase scene and fought our way in here, got to the end to save our team. And here's Major Dosk with 3 random droids. And just this dude is going to take on a Jedi and the commander of the Alliance. Again, you saw us take out 4 of your squad plus a big assault droid, and you think this is a good idea. So you kill him in about, 7 seconds.
Right.
And then you get into the room, and lo and behold, you have saved Jerry. Jerry's alive. At least Jerry's alive for now. Here's the opportunity for a choice, and I don't know how much of this choice matters, but you have a choice to either load Jerry or load the Kolto in a shuttle. And, basically it's...
Yeah.
this Kolto could save a lot of lives. Oh, it is a light dark. It's a light dark choice too. So either load Jerry and her team into the shuttle. No, I guess it's not a dark side choice. The
It
light
is.
side. Oh, is it? I thought it was like a neutral or a. I'm trying to see here. No, it is a dark side. Yep. So you could save the Kolto, which is a dark side choice, or you could save Jerry, which is a light side choice. So I don't know what happens if you take the dark side choice. If Jerry is then dead, and we lose Jerry, and she's not in the story anymore, that would be a shame because that means she's lost for all of us anyway. So we'll have to find that out. Anyway, we save Jerry. Then we're up on the rescue ship that grabbed Jerry. And then we get a fun little moment. And this is one of my favorite parts of the Republic side. We're up in the shuttle and we've saved Jerry. They pull the escape pod out. We're up there and the commander up in the shuttle is saying, all right, we did it. We routed them. And we say, well, aren't you going to take out the Republic or the Imperials that are still down there? And they go, no, we're pulling back. And now you need to just stand here and wait. And you're like,
Yeah.
What? What?
And then I love it when like Arn finally steps out of line and looks over.
Yeah.
What are we waiting for?
He's like, he gives you the whole side eye view here. What are we doing here? What's up? And the Selkath is pretty circumspect about the whole thing, just staring out into the ocean.
And I was in my chair going, ooh, shark coming.
Yes. And now we get the giant Phyraxan shark. Yeah. Arn's like, are we waiting for something? You get 2 giant Phyraxan shark attacks that basically eat these shuttles out of the water. Weren't these shuttles like filled with all this valuable Kolto? Anyway, I don't know. I don't care.
Well, a lot of shuttles. Yeah.
Mama shark do comes and eats. So this giant shark, bigger than a shuttle, eats. I mean, its head is bigger than a shuttle. Eats one of the shuttles out, and these 2 other Imperial troopers decide that they're going to take out their blasters and just start shooting the water. I mean, nice try, guys, but yeah, that's not going to do anything. So, kind of rough there. You basically get a dune worm style Phyraxan shark blasting out of the water. Really good scene. I liked that. And that was a good ending to that. And then you get a final bit of conversation with Arn on this side. And what Arn says is, again, he's a little bit of broody here on the bridge. Basically says, I was here trying to find the story of this Jedi, this ancient rumor of a Jedi that was hiding out of Manon, and I wanted to, connect to that Jedi and make sure that they knew that they had a place back with the Empire, sort of developing Arn's character a little bit. And I find out that the Jedi passed away quite a long time ago, and ask the Selkath not to reveal where this Jedi was buried. And Arn is sort of contemplating that about, is it not about being recognized for what you do? It's just about doing the right thing. And he's got a little bit of mental gyrations going on there, and in a good way, sort of developing his character a bit. This, you tried to look it up, and I tried to look it up as well. This sounded to me, when he started talking about a Jedi hiding out in Manon, and this is old rumors, old lore, I'm trying to track this down. This sounded like a KOTOR reference to me. I don't know for sure. I didn't get that. Maybe someone else has already figured this out. Sounds like a KOTOR reference to me, though. And you did a little searching. You didn't find anything definite, but obviously there's KOTOR stuff happening on Manon, right?
Right.
Okay. So that's it. So that wraps up. Maybe we got a little bit of a KOTOR Easter egg there. If somebody discovers who that Jedi was, that would be interesting to put it in the put a comment on the YouTube there, because that's a good thing I learned as well for YouTube videos. And tell us what the KOTOR reference was. Anyways, that's the Republic side, and then we're pretty much done with that. Well, we're not done, because then we need to go to Elam, but we're done with the Manon part of the story. So let's take a little look-see then at the Imperial side, which is played basically as a sequel to what just happened on the Republic side. So what which one did you play first, Seema?
Played the Empire side first.
Okay. And so did I. And that was the wrong order. We chose poorly. Because the story, it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't spoil anything. But once you start playing the Imperial side, they talk about how they had this awesome ion cannon, and something, the Republic already came here and caused a big ruckus and blasted that out of the sky, and now they've cleared things out, and we have to go take our base back. So what's happening there is the Republic side happens first, then the Empire side happens. So that's where we're at. Now, see, I did get the trailer playing when I played through, and I know there was a little bit of a bug. The trailer didn't play in all cases. But I got the trailer playing. When we get to Elam, we'll come back to this, but this, at the end of this trailer, is when Malgus comes out of the temple at the end on Elam. That's what we see there. Opening title crawl, a little bit different on the Imperial side. Mostly it's basically saying from the Imperial's perspective, hey, this stuff is really important, and we're going to do what we need to do to seize the Kolto, because we're prepared, because we're in this war, and the Selkath haven't been cooperative enough. Manon's reclusive people, the Selkath, control the flow of Kolto with an uncharitable grasp. So basically, we've justified it to say that they're not giving us enough Kolto. Instead of Arn, on the Imperial side, who do we get?
Henri.
Were you happy to see Henri?
So
catch up
I
on
loved
Henri?
how the Empire side started out, because almost the very first thing that happens is you get to save Major Henri, and I was like, oh my god, Major Henri!
And
She's one of my favorite characters, and she's which I have a type, right? Because she also wants to do the right thing. It's just that her definition of the right thing is like following orders and doing the best job at her job,
saving her comrades, and supporting her team, and teammate, and doing the right thing by her her people.
She's like Gunny in The Expanse.
Yes,
it's that character.
Yeah,
but I really like her, and to be able to swoop in the beginning and save her was really cool.
I think they did that cutscene quite well as well. She is in an Imperial fighter, little Imperial fighter ship, like a scout, and basically strafes the water, and basically dips the tail end or her jets into the water to create a big water spray to foil and distract the two Republic fighters that are coming after her. And she's almost to the end of, she's in their sights and she's trying to escape. And who comes out of the clouds to save Henri? But you come in your class ship, again, very space mission-y. You come in your class ship and you take out these couple Republic fighters. So that was very cool. Henri then explains to us all of what's been going on. She says, hey, we had things going pretty well here on Manon. I'm working with this Colonel Cord, who's the base commander, and why don't we come meet him, because we got to get our base back here. Everything's up in arms after the Republic caused this mess. We then get to meet Colonel Cord. He's a pretty typical, not completely typical. So what did you think of Cord at the beginning? Did you catch on to anything in the beginning of that?
No,
that Cord was
not really. Like he
agenda?
has kind of a separate agenda and kind of a crazy streak.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a loose cannon, and I didn't pick up on it until later, and basically when it's revealed in the story. If you go back and watch again the second time, there are a couple clues of what's going on in the couple times he keeps trying to call Darth Norak on the holo communicator. and it doesn't work correctly, or he does the call and Darth Norick only says a couple things, and basically what we find out is he's a fine commander. He did not like the idea. He goes off on his own. He did not like the idea of conquering Manan, which is what the Sith Lord was telling him to do. Basically, go kill all the Selkath, conquer Manan. He's like, no. First off, no. Second off, how dare you? And anyway, we find out that the Darth Norok, the Sith Lord, who he's been in charge to, who reports directly, who's the right hand of Lord Vauron on the Sith Council. Darth Norok gets captured early on in the story behind the scenes. We don't realize this until the end. And Colonel Cord has been off basically taking advantage of that situation to execute his own agenda and do what he thinks is the right thing.
Even to the extent of like pretending to have communications.
Yeah.
With him.
Here's Darth Norak. He says, "Do what I'm saying." All right, gonna have to do that.
Good talk.
The call dropped. I don't know. I could try to get him back. Probably not gonna work.
He went into a tunnel. Yeah.
I can't take your call. You're breaking up. Yeah, exactly. So, I thought that was interesting, and he starts at the beginning. The first half of the playthrough seems like another typical straight-laced Imperial officer kind of character, and you realize he's had his own agenda this whole time. So we do some of the same things on the Republic side, or on the Imperial side, where you have to fight through some of the outside, you fight through some of the inside. You gotta do the underwater scene again from a different perspective this time, where you're laying mines. Yeah, you're laying mines. And this was another clue. You basically need to go and lay the mines. And Henri's like, why would we lay mines? Didn't Darth Norick say that was a stupid idea? He's like, well, nope. He thinks it's a great idea. He doesn't say it that way. It really wasn't that obvious. But when you play through it the second time, you realize that that's what's going on. So then you take control of the probe. You get to do the underwater part with laying the mines this time, which I thought was interesting and fun. And then you go back in after you do those parts where you need to then come back inside and take over the interior part of the base. And then the part where you get to, oh my gosh, we've knocked out the Republic. We've laid the mines. We've gotten control of the base back. But now we're trapped. We've got to get out of here. And Cord is like, oh, well, geez, sorry guys. I don't know what you're going to do. You're kind of in a bit of a pickle there, aren't you? And what we end up needing to do is fight our way out and jump on a shuttle. And then when we jump on that shuttle is the point where we find it's right here, part 2. We find out that Darth, what was the name? Norok. Darth Norok is on that shuttle. So after we fight our way through the docks again, we get onto the shuttle, we clear our way out, we get into the shuttle, and we find out that Darth Norok has been imprisoned by the Republic basically this whole time. So we see him in a cell on the shuttle, and we're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, why? What are you doing here? I got captured, and Henri says, well, Colonel Cord's got this whole plan. And Norok's like, Colonel Cord, he's an idiot. I told him to conquer this planet. And if he had just done what I told him, then everything would have been fine. And you just sort of play along with it for most of it. I mean, here's a Sith Lord who's a right hand of a council member, and apparently he's got some authority. You follow him, you take over this shuttle, you do what he says, to the point where you need to still take out these gun emplacements that the Republic has laid down. There's 4 gun emplacements, I think, or something like that. And the gun emplacements were taking out Imperial ships that had come back to retake the planet. And they were doing this trick where they would shoot the guys out of the sky and then they would go back underwater and then they would pop back up. And so that's why they were difficult to track. And that's why you had to come down here and do it yourself. Again, it's the MacGuffin of why you have to do it. And they couldn't just nuke them from orbit, even though that's the only way to be sure. So Norak, after you fight your way through and you get yourself to the point where you can take these guns out, and Henri is ready to take the guns out and do the right thing again. And Norak tells you, wait a minute, I got a great idea. How about if we don't take the guns out? How about if you ratchet up the power so you can blast those Republic ships out of the sky? And Henri says, I can't. If I do that, it's going to take their targeting system offline, and they're going to be shooting Imperial ships out of the sky, and they're going to be shooting Selkath bases. They're just going to be like blasting everything, indiscriminate friendly fire. It's going to kill everybody. And Darth Norak's like, I don't care. Do it. So that's sort of like a big key point here where you get to, again, make a dark side, light side choice on this. I bet I know what you did, Seema.
I to the extent where I don't even remember this choice. I'm just like, of course I wouldn't just kill everyone.
Right. If you choose not to, and I'm pretty, yeah, it is a choice. Yeah, destroy the guns or don't destroy the guns. So it's definitely a choice here, and you get to do either one. Oh, I like this one. So Norak says no, do it, and Henri says no, that's gonna that's gonna hurt everybody. And Norak says, you got one chance here, make the right choice. You say you have some dialogue choices, and one of your dialogue choices is to turn to Henri and say, what do you think? And she goes, wow, thanks for putting me on the spot here. But I guess since you're asking, I would think we probably shouldn't kill our own people. But she was not happy that in front of a Sith Lord, you throw her under the bus. Hey, Henri, why don't you tell us what you think we should be doing? Like, oh my God, really? Is that what you're going to do to me here? But this is where you said, this is her personality. This is why she's so cool. I do what's best for my soldiers. And I don't think getting shot out of the sky by some overpowered light show is in their best interest. She protects her people. She's honorable. So in that way, she's a really cool, a really cool character. So you can supercharge the guns or you can destroy the guns. I don't know what happens with the dark side choice. Maybe you team up and maybe Darth Norak lives. But if you take the destroy the guns light side choice, well, then Darth Norak, as you start walking away, goes, you chose poorly, and bars the way and basically says, sorry. And now you're going to find out what happens when you defy the Sith, and you get to then fight Darth Norak and take him out. So I don't think there's a way to keep Darth Norak alive here. This seems like a big boss fight. I bet you fight Darth Norak maybe either way. Or do you just not get this big
I can't
boss
imagine
fight?
that you wouldn't end up fighting him.
He's a jerk regardless. He deserves it right. So no. Chat room says no. If you go dark side, you do not fight him. Or you dark side, he is friendly. Okay. Well, then I guess you don't have to fight him.
Do you have a different boss fight or just no boss fight there?
I guess we're going to have to play it through on the dark side, Seema.
That's not an option for me.
I don't play dark side either. None.
No, I mean, I literally can't do this story again.
On a different character. I'm sure you could.
No, I would have to do so much to get up to it.
Yeah, well, it might take you a year.
Well, I mean, when 8.0 comes out, I will.
or if we get a skip token that actually skips us to the beginning of 7.0 content, if we get a skip choice at some point, that would be
That's
nice
what I
for
mean
our
by
arcs.
8.0. I'm
Yeah.
assuming that the skip will be the same until 8.0.
Possibly. But we do that. We take out, we took out Darth Norak because he was a jerk anyway, and fight our way off the ship. We get back to the base and we confront, then we catch up with, what's his name? Colonel Cord. We get back to Colonel Cord and Henri tears him a new one because she basically says, "What is going on? And you've been lying to us this whole time, and we just had to fight a Sith Lord because of you, and I don't know what you're thinking or what crazy pills you've been taking, but this is now a big, huge mess, and that's what you've gotten us in the middle of." But he basically lays it out, and it gave me a little bit of respect, which was, this guy was insane. He wants us to blow and nuke the whole planet. I'm not going to do that. I had this all worked out, and when he got captured because he's an idiot, I took that as my opportunity to do what we actually should be doing here, and do what's efficient and effective, and not be a bunch of murderous psychopaths. So you get a choice to let him live or not, I think here, or you get a choice to throw him under the bus when Darth Krovos calls. And I did not throw him under the bus. I said, no, he was cool. Krovos, don't worry about it. Everything's good. We're all fine here. How are you?
I did too.
So I thought that was interesting. Good to see Darth Krovos. I think she's a fine Sith Lord character. I mean, she's not good. She's still a Sith Lord, but chat room saying,
we know what you
I
mean,
executed
Max.
him. So I guess you can execute him. But I liked that. I thought that was a fine wrap up. So at both of these points in the story, then Manon is done, and then you get a transition. On the Republic side, now you transition to the Ruins of Null. It's basically a separate step in the chapter. What happened on Manon is now wrapped up. There's still fallout from that. That's going to continue on. The conflict between the Empire and the Republic still continues. But on the Republic side, Tau calls you up and says, "Hey, we got work to do." And on the Imperial side, Darth Rivix calls you up and says, "Hey, we got work to do." Which of these would you prefer? We'll go through one, and then we'll talk about the bits of the other. I say let's go through the Imperial side.
Yeah, let's do that.
On the Imperial side, then both of them are very good. So the one part I do want to talk about is Lana shows up to back you up in either case. So
Yeah.
Lana shows you up to back you up with Darth Rivix because she doesn't trust him. Oh, well, she doesn't trust Tau either. So in both cases, Tau calls you up, on the Republic side, and Lana just thinks that she just should be there just to help out. In both of those cases also, there's some really fun bits of dialogue between Lana and Tau and Lana and Rivix that were very good with both of them. And Lana is just hilarious and played so well.
It's why we love her.
So on the Jedi side, it's she basically loves to play and says this explicitly. Jedi are so much fun to play with. She nothing too overt, but she shows up and says, "Hey, guess what? I'm going to be helping out." And Tau's like, yeah. Tau's like, "I don't even know how she found out that this was even going on." This is the first thing she says. You go, I'm honestly not even sure how she found out about all this. And Lana says, "Hearing about things is my job." And Tau says, "You say that like that's supposed to be reassuring to me." And Lana says, "I've always find the truth reassuring." And Tau kind of stomps off. And then Lana goes, "Jedi are such fun." So that, and then there's a bit more. So now they're saying we got to go to Elam. You jump in a shuttle together. And there's a bit more banter here. Again, it happens on the Rivik side too. But on this side, Tao says, you just basically come in at the tail end of a conversation. You're sort of overhearing them talking. And you come in when Tao is saying, look, it doesn't matter how you justify it. Fear, anger, hate, those aren't things to aspire to. And then Lana says, I don't aspire to them. I conquer them. I wield them. No different from your lightsaber. And then Tao goes, I don't enjoy using my lightsaber. No Jedi should. And Lana goes, and yet I've never seen you without it. and then Tao goes, and you never will. And then Lana says, I'm flattered. But again, well written, well played, well acted, really good stuff. Same thing on the Imperial side. Very clear though that Lana shows up because she doesn't trust Rivix, and she says that explicitly to you. She plays it off though when she shows up and she says, I've not had the opportunity to work with our esteemed ally here. I thought it'd be a perfect time to become better acquainted. And then as soon as Rivix walks away, you go, yeah, you don't trust him, do you? And she's like, no, not a bit. And then same thing, you go up on the shuttle, up in the air, and there's a little bit of banter here, which I really like. In fact, I want to clip this audio out. But Rivix is sort of questioning her. He's like, that's just it. So little's known about you right now. It's a mystery. And Lana's like, oh, is that troubling to you? He's like, no, not at all. I quite enjoy it. You should hear the stories people tell. You'd find them flattering. I once heard that you remain at your master's side in his shadow to disguise your full power. After all, who can say what you're truly capable of when you live in a shadow cast so long? And all she says is, who indeed? And smiles. That's it. Who could say? And he's like trying to get a rise out of her, and you get nothing. Just trays perfectly straight. Who indeed could say? I have no idea. Wow, that's fascinating. That's it. So those little bits on both sides played well written. Good job. The rest of the story of what goes on Elam isn't all that interesting until the end. You fly over. There's a shield. This is what we mentioned at the beginning. Oh my gosh, there's a shield. A small team's going to have to go in and take out the shield. We can't nuke it from orbit. Okay, fine. We land, both sides land. You then get to fight your way through the flashpoint. You go through the different bosses. You get to the first one, which is the creature boss. We walked through this on the PTS, showed you a little bit of the playthrough. We could probably even do an update here later on. The more interesting part obviously happens at the end. So at the end, you fight the last group of either Imperials or Republic, the opposite faction, when you get through there. And here's where you look up. The ground shakes. You look up at the temple. So here we're in the ruins of Null. You look up at the temple, and a big shattering explosion happens that blasts through the front of the temple, and Darth Malgus comes walking out. This is the ending of the trailer. The machine has been destroyed.
Oh, okay.
The big, everything's crashing down on the inside. He gets out. He leaves Sahar in there and says, when you're ready to break out of your cage, come find me, basically. And he comes walking out. So this is that connection. This was all happening. All of that scene of what's going on in the trailer was all happening while you were fighting your way through here to get to this point. And you meet Malgus as he's walking out there, as he's just left Sahar back in the temple as it's been crashing down. Very cool. I love that connection. We also see Sahar makes it out, And we see that after we fight Darth Malgus and get him back and imprison him. So he comes out. He says, oh, it's you. On both sides, this dialogue's relatively similar. Oh, it's you. I should have known. You got one chance. I'm not here to fight you. Get out of the way and things will be okay. You, of course, say, no, I don't think you have a choice here. You say, no, I'm not getting out of the way. And then you fight Malgus. So tell me what you thought here, getting here, seeing Malgus, and then fighting Malgus. What were your expectations before you saw what the end of the fight would be, Seema?
I didn't think we'd fight Malgus, first off. I mean, at that point, I knew we did because we did it on the PTS, but is that what you mean? Because
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to fight him. And then I guess since we were going to fight him, I expected him to get away or something.
I would have expected him to win. I mean, there are three of us.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
that's a version
win
of
or
getting
get away,
right?
or
Like
yes.
he subdues us and takes off.
Yes. In fact, I was a little bit disappointed that you do take him to his knees and then he ends up getting captured. It's not like you kill him. You take him to his knees. You knock him down, but then I thought it's me and two pretty powerful Force users who are fighting here. So on the Republic side, it's you and Tau and Lana. On the Imperial side, it's you and Rivix and Lana. So that's a pretty good crew to be taking on Malgus.
Right. And you've made this argument earlier in the story that these three are going to be able to do it.
And Malgus is powerful and he's definitely leveled up, but it's still 3-on-1. He's not a superhero, he's not a god. He's still just a Sith Lord. He does a good job against us, and he does, you could certainly die in this fight and have to come back and do it. You take him to his knees, though, and then what happens on both sides is then the rest of your faction shows up. So on the Imperial side, a whole bunch of the rest of the faction, including Asina. So you've got for me, it was Asina because she's my emperor.
Yeah, for me too.
But that's
also
not going to be for everybody.
For Valron, if you don't have Asina anymore.
So but you, Lana, Rivix, some other Sith Lords show up. You got some more people backing you up. Krovos is here. They're all using their Force powers to basically lock down Malgus. Even Asina shows up. Malgus is surrounded. He's still practically able to break out, but then can't. So he's definitely leveled up. They put a lot of effort in to capture him, and then you imprison him. They take him. You take him, and you put him in prison. In this final cutscene where he's getting imprisoned, you do see Sahar makes that out of the temple also, and you see her break out. After he's been imprisoned, when he starts his final monologue, is where you see that Sahar's broken out. I skipped ahead there just a second. Both of the prisons, so on the Imperial side and the Republic side, it's a different place. If you're on the Republic side, it's not the same prison, but it's basically the same, and they're on the fleet. They're on the fleet space station. It's at the core of the fleet space station for both of them. I don't think that's a safe place. And you don't either. Do you, Seema? You agree with me here?
No, it feels fraught with danger to me.
This is why would you do this? Why would you put him in the middle of the fleet space station and think that that's a good idea? Why won't you bury him on, in a hole underground someplace that's but much better guarded, especially since both of these prisons are designed, in theory, they're engineered to be like these super prisons for Force users. And they do explain that comes up in the narrative. You've got this expert Sith Lord engineer, and then you've got this, you've got the Jedi Council that's designed this prison based on, previous designs, blah, blah, blah. He's gravity anchored to the seat that he's sitting in. He's encased in a force field. The whole thing did remind me, though, if you look down, you can walk back in there after you've done this. It's still, the wall is green to you. You can go back in and check it out. In fact, that's where we started the podcast. But if you look down, it's open to space down below. So that seemed weird to me, that it was open to space. Like, what would happen if somebody wanted to rescue Malgus and just flew up underneath and, grabbed him out of there? For one. For two, though, the flip side of that what it reminded me of was the Avengers movie and the helicarrier, where that hover carrier that they would fly around. They built a containment unit for the Hulk, right? And the way that containment unit worked was they were going to trap the Hulk in there, and if something went wrong, the thing would just drop out and could be ejected out of the helicarrier, so it wouldn't, basically we wouldn't have a loose Hulk running around the helicarrier destroying it. Now that happens anyway in the movie, but that's kind of the feeling that I got of the design here. It was open to space below, so almost that it could be, if things went really wrong, it could just be ejected out into space. So it's cool design. I still think it's a big security risk and not the most effective kind of prison that they could have invented. While you're in there, there's a little bit of banter with either on the Republic side, you're talking to Daerun and Nostoral, or probably not Nostoral if you killed Nostoral, or if Nostoral got killed. No, I think that might have only happened on the Imperial side. Rivix and Krovos on the Imperial side. Both of them, you're basically talking, Malgus is silent until the end. And on the Republic side, Nostoral and Daerun are chatting it up, and Nostoral says, no, blah, 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 we'll be fine. And Malgus says, no, your order's not going to survive what is to come. And then he has a little bit of monologue that's the same on both sides. And on the Imperial side, basically, what does he say? He says, oh, you think this is over? And then he gives us a little monologue. And his monologue is, while his monologue is going, this is where they do a flashback to what's sort of the cleanup that's going on Elam. And you see Sahar peek out, and she's basically made it out of the ruins. And she picks up with the Force, she finds the plans that she pulled out of the machine in the trailer. And she, she's obviously beat up a little bit. She's obviously stressed, but she sees the plans. She grabs them. She's got custody of them and takes them away. While that's happening, Malgus's final monologue is this. I have revealed a truth long buried, a path to power, concealed by thrones and hidden by councils, overshadowed by a war with no true victor. I have seen a vision of the future, a galaxy in flames. What I have begun will not end with me. This is only the beginning. So what is your take on that, Seema? What are your thoughts? I think it's relatively obvious, but I kind of like that. I like that wrap up of a monologue. And that, to me, then explains sort of like what the rest of 7.0 and the following chapters is going to be about.
Well, I think that he's expecting Sahar to take the plans, and that's going to cause the machine to be built, and something terrible is going to happen as a result of that.
Or not terrible. I don't know. I don't know that the machine is necessarily.
He thinks it's going to be. Yeah, he thinks it's going to be terrible.
There was a bit more here that I didn't. That seemed to reveal a little bit more that I didn't get just from the trailer, and that I didn't realize was part of it until you listen closely to his monologue. So he's revealed a truth long buried. The concealed by thrones and hidden by councils, that's basically saying both the Sith Empire and the Sith Council and the Jedi, the Emperor and the Jedi Council wanted to bury this whole concept. But the first part of that, it's a path to power. That's the part I don't understand, and I don't think we're meant to understand just yet. So I've revealed a truth long buried, a path to power, concealed by thrones and hidden by councils, overshadowed by a war with no true victor. So the path to power part, I don't know what that means, and that's not what I thought I was seeing in the trailer. Unless,
I okay. To me, it's a path to power because it's going to be a way for him to connect to all these Force users.
okay, I
And
mean
he's going
that's what I was just potentially.
Yeah, and he's like, and me personally, I don't call him Darth Malgus anymore. I just call him Malgus because he has eschewed
His
the
chains
Sith.
are broken. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not. He doesn't want to be a Sith anymore, and he doesn't consider himself one. And he's after greater power than even that. So he's going to be greater than the Sith Empire and the Jedi's that are out there. So
I'm intrigued by your ideas. I'd like to subscribe to your newsletter. I agree. So I think that that's a good concept, that machine that can find all of these other Force users, that can create this third faction that can be greater than the limits that the Sith and the Jedi have placed upon themselves, and they've constrained themselves to such a degree that there's so much more of a bounty of Force users out there that this path to power to reshape the galaxy, how Malgus thinks it should run, can work through this truth that's been buried. So the vision of the future, a galaxy in flames, the kind of vibe I get from that is very Dune-like. So Paul Moadib saying, I've now unleashed this power, which is the people of Arrakis. Malgus is the power of these Force users that he's going to get together, this faction. A vision of the future, a galaxy in flames, that was the visions that Paul Moadib kept seeing of unleashing the Fremen on the galaxy and the jihad that was to come. This whole idea of what I have begun will not end with me. This is only the beginning. That final bit seemed a little weird to me, and I hope it doesn't mean that Malgus is actually out of the picture now. I do hope we get a little bit bigger of a conclusion to the Malgus story than he just rots in a prison for the rest of his life.
The way I took that is like posturing, like so that they don't think that they've won.
Yes.
It's like, oh, it's just there's worse things ahead for you, and you guys are all going to fail.
Right.
The fact that you have me here means nothing.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Basically, regardless of what you think you've accomplished by capturing me, and maybe I won't be here very long, but regardless of what you think you've done here, that you haven't even scratched the surface, the bigger gears are in motion and you can't stop it now. Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time.
I think Sahar is going to be a bit of a mystery, like a mystery component. Like, I don't think Sahar is necessarily going to do what Malgus would do with the same information.
That's true. A loose cannon and her own character, and we're going to have to see where that arc goes.
And she's not 100%, working on all 8 cylinders.
Right. She's all wrapped up in her history and her brother, and thinking now that potentially her brother is out there. She's certainly not a disciple of Malgus. She was trying to kill Malgus, and Malgus was trying to kill her last time they saw each other. So she's
probably not too happy with the Jedi right now either.
Right. From my perspective, the Jedi reboot. So you're right. I think we've got a lot more that we're going to see from Sahar, and Sahar may end up being the main character for the rest of the rest of the plot. And then the credits roll, which I guess that's fine. I would have liked a little bit more of 7.x to to be revealed before you get to put your credits out there, but okay, whatever. That's fine. I it it was fun to see everybody's names and uh, uh, be reminded of everyone who's working on the product as well. So that's okay. All right, we went a little bit extra long to get through both of that, both the Republic and the Imperial parts of the story. I think there is a lot to come. I don't know if it's clear. It certainly wasn't clear to many people when 7.0 released now 3 weeks ago that this is just the start. This is not the end. This is not all of 7.0. Wow, 7, their 10th anniversary release was only a couple hours of story. No, this is chapter 1. This is the start. This is the intro. This is the prelude to what's to come. And I think we've got a lot more that's going to be coming, and I'm excited for it.
And one thing they've done, which I think is kind of brilliant too, is like of all the main characters, aside from Sahar, we've been introduced to them over time already. So they didn't have to do like one episode that introduces all the characters like they had to do in the Eternals, for instance.
Right. True. And we got her kind of introduced in the trailer, and we don't need to talk to her or play with her just yet. So that also is going to get some room to breathe in a future chapter. That's a good point.
I think that's one reason why he's in the fleet is because, so we can have, dialogue scenes with him or something. I don't know.
Potentially.
They could do that they could
do
easily do that in German Cause and Coruscant anyway. So I don't know.
Weird to put him on the fleet.
I'm actually putting on hold my plans to decorate my fleet apartment because I'm not hanging out at the fleet
because you think it's a security risk to have Malgus trapped down there. You're gonna be hanging out in that apartment. You don't feel so secure. You're gonna go. I'm. That's it. I'm out, guys. I'm on Tatooine, out in the desert.
Hope that Malgus doesn't make a choice that matters and destroys the fleet.
Forster said maybe we're going to have a Silence of the Lambs situation. We get to go and he's the Hannibal Lecter character in the prison, and we get to go talk to him, and he'll say,
"Yeah, Zen brought that up. Yeah,
have the Padawans stop screaming, Clarice." All right. With that, we will take EPC 417 droid and kick it on an airlock to broadcast this episode to all of you out there. To keep from missing out, subscribe to New Overlords on YouTube and iTunes. And you can find all the links to that and more of what's next on newoverlords.com. Follow me on Twitter at MaxTheGray, and I'll keep you up to date as sort of the feed for when we go live and when the episodes get published. For Alea Yacht as Guild on Starforge and in all the games that we play, check out aie-guild.org. The Discord link is in the upper right of our guild website. Jump in there, and we would be happy to get you an invite. And we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.